Ronald Widdows, chairman of the World Shipping Council, took part in the plenary session of the 2013 Asian Logistics and Maritime Conference in Hong Kong. The panel focused on how Asia's emerging dragons will shape the region's macroeconomic outlook for maritime and logistics industries. Mr. Widdows, thanks for joining us. First, if we could ask, how do you see the industries being affected by economic integration of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations?
The countries within ASEAN have recognized for some time maybe the benefits. I mean, more so the need to be able to cooperate because of where ASEAN is positioned, because of the way that the world is growing, particularly with what's going on in China, maybe a bit less in India, but Southeast Asia in general has a position within this massive development that's taking place. A growing consumer market of 3 billion people and has the ability to take advantage of that. If they can work out the cooperation between them, they're in a position to really accomplish some dramatic things in terms of economic development for their own countries.
Well, then, given these developments in ASEAN, what do you see as the key opportunities and challenges for maritime and logistics?
Well, the interesting thing is you have this robust growth that takes place in the region, and almost all good news. Growth, development of infrastructure, a critical need for the development of more sophisticated supply chain capabilities. It's a rich environment for the industry. Separately, you have an industry that is in a really horrible place. So you've got a shipping industry that is in the worst downturn ever. I mean, in my 40 years in the industry. And the dynamics that cause that development really don't have a lot to do with economic growth and all of the things that are taking place within the broad Asia, India subcon, Middle East region. So that industry is going to continue to have difficulties. So there's this dilemma for an industry that it is not doing well, hasn't done for now roughly 8 years, and opportunities to take advantage, but there's a huge investment requirement. So the investment need from companies that aren't doing so well, a requirement for assets that are much more efficient, but too many assets exist today. You have this structural supply-demand problem.
What role do you see for services such as those offered here in Hong Kong in the global and regional supply chains?
More sophisticated supply chain capabilities, development of infrastructure, landside, last mile infrastructure in many countries that have maybe done okay in developing port or airport infrastructure, but road, rail is got a long way to go. With those developments will come speed, and in this environment where that's a challenge, I think there's quite some opportunity for logistics, supply chain service providers because the times are quite critical.
Well, how critical is Hong Kong's role in things such as trade finance, for example?
In a world where financing has become hard to come by for many people, that's been very important. It's one of the things that Hong Kong, the financial services capabilities in Hong Kong has done very well. So trade finance to continue to keep the flow of goods moving, and particularly in markets that are growing, has been quite important. And I think that's one of the things that Hong Kong has put a lot of attention on over the last few decades and has done very well.
Well, what's a key message that you hope that people who attended the Asian Logistics and Maritime Conference take away from the gathering?
I think that there's such an enormous opportunity, and I think a couple of the speakers hit on that. The broad opportunity. I mean, there's within ASEAN, and people think about kind of in their own house, but the opportunity that exists for countries in this region because of what goes on outside, aside from the opportunities for development that's more narrow, the way that the world changes, the dynamics that are affecting economic growth in a very unequal way in this region, the countries in this area have this just gigantic opportunity to take advantage of, and hopefully people walk away from the discussion today having maybe a little bit better understanding of that.
And finally, why do you think it's important for you and other industry players to take part in a conference like this?
I have customers here. So it's an opportunity to engage. People now they're in this place of thinking about what comes next, how big the ship, how the alliance relationships develop. Will the process of procuring assets will that change? I believe it will. And so while this thought process is going on, it provides me with an opportunity to engage and maybe help that process along. I've got a parochial interest because that's our business, but it's an evolving thought process in an industry that's still in a bad place, but is going to be making really enormous investments in the relatively near future, and that's pretty interesting. And there's an opportunity to engage with people here to do that.